God, you're thick. This is bigger than Reed, bigger than Third Echelon. They're just convenient.
Then why does Reed want you out of town?
Your enhanced interrogation techniques need work.
Well, for the story, you're basically out to save the president from terrorist groups. And Sam Fisher, his daughter, is dead, so he's pretty set on revenge. He is pretty content with what he does, other than the fact that he's lost his daughter, but yeah, as the plot goes on, there's little twists here and there which will add to the story, and so on. It's a fairly simple story, and it's not hard to understand. If you've not played previous Splintercell games, you might be a little confused over some characters, but generally speaking, it's pretty simple. Sam Fisher, I'm guessing, is around his 50s, and he has this disease called swine flu. And this disease is pretty much weakening his body, and he has to carry around a syringe to keep the pain at bay. You're pretty much on your own except for the communication via codec, and Boticon, which is this little robot that follows you around, gives you ammo, and electrocutes enemies. Sam's voice acting is pretty well done. He's a pretty laid-back guy.
Third Echelon to get EMPs into the country and site it in DC. I help set it up. It's what I do.
And knows how to handle himself. He is one badass motherfucker. The set pieces are okay, not brilliant, there's not too many of them. The one at the end is pretty cool, but so overall the story isn't too bad. I wouldn't say the game is a rip-off of Metal Gear. It has a completely different story that doesn't even compare, but it's enough to get around on.
Son of a bitch. Last question. This is the important one. What do you know about my daughter?
If I tell you, you're gonna kill me.
As you might have guessed, this is a stealth-based game, which will only appeal to some. You can't just go running in guns blazing, or maybe you can if you throw, for example, a flashbang or an EMP grenade that will stun the enemy. You've got to think tactics more than anything. You've also got to watch you don't get flanked. If you're up against one guy in front of you and one at your 6, you're basically fucked. So I did like the game's playstyle. I didn't find it hard or normal. I did find the game a little bit too easy. One or two bits I did a couple of times, like the lasers that you have to get past, but at the end of the day, it's nice. I find it pretty simple. Now obviously you've got guns, grenades, etc. But what's important is that you make use of your fists. In order to line up marks on your targets, executions, you have to take down a guy with close quarters combat. Now that is simple. I felt they could have improved on that. You only get to do a split-second animation. Okay, the animation kicks ass, but the only move you get to do is to take them into a human shield. But that's literally it. Just a few more moves and that would have been a bit more enjoyable and useful than anything. As you progress through the game, you'll get yourself different weapons. Now the weapons you unlock in the game are pretty basic. There's not a really big selection for this type of game. For example, 1 shotgun, 3 assault rifles, 4 SMGs, 2 machine pistols, and that's basically it. And the customizations are pretty weak. You can add an ACOG and a silencer, but even then they only apply to some weapons. The G36C was my favourite gun, but it can't have a silencer, so I don't know who thought of that. But back to the sneaking. Shadows are your best friend. You should be looking to turn off lights, shoot the lights, whatever you want. But the game is basically a linear one which you'll have to find your way through. Defeat a shitload of dudes with guns and interrogate dudes with no guns, which will provide you with some pretty neat animations. Another thing I'll hit up is the AI. Sometimes they're pretty good and they'll find you quick enough, but other times it's just a little broken and too easy I felt to kill them. Now aside from the main campaign, you get a separate co-op campaign. There's set pieces, it's its own story, but compared to Sam's, it's pretty shitty. I'm not going to go into the co-op, but you get different modes like Hunter, Last Stand, and of course the campaign. There's enough there if you're hungry for more. So, it's a good game, I like its style, but it will apply to me more than anyone else. Well, not bad raw power, the environments look very realistic, yet don't show off its good graphics. The game's quite dark and you need lighting if you're going for the full effect, so I can't really compare Splintercell to other games based on raw power. What they do good though is atmosphere. You're like a ninja creeping about with all these guards, yelling, trying to look for you, and then of course you come up behind them and break their neck. What I also like is the game's little objective pop-ups. For example, what it says here, and little cutscenes built onto a wall in black and white. Like a flashback but somehow 3D. Sam looks great, but most other characters just look a little off, so character models aren't the greatest. As I said, Sam's voice acting is fine, but some of the other characters again, just a little off. So overall, they're okay, better than average, I guess, but don't do much more than that. I might be sounding a little bit negative, but I did have a lot of fun with the game. Personally, I like stealth-based games, and Splintercell doesn't fall short. I never really felt bored, despite that there's not too much content. Co-op is pretty fun if you play with a friend, and the campaign does a good job. The biggest thing that lets the game down for me was the fact that you only have 1 or 2 moves. The biggest flaw for you would probably be the game's length. 5 hours, that isn't great, but the co-op does give a couple of more hours if you wish to grab a friend for that. Interrogating is fun, sure, but it could easily be improved to be more like the Godfather games. This game could have just been so much better, but they decided against it. A little bit too lazy if you ask me. Tom Clancy knows Splinter Cell games are popular, but just take the extra step and actually improve it rather than update it. I'll just go over some of the gadgets you get. The sticky camera you can use to cause distractions, or use it as C4. The sonar goggles allow you to see through walls. Yeah, pretty cool compared to night vision, but when Sam moves the whole thing shudders with static. The EMPs temporarily disable the electrics and stun enemies for a couple of seconds, and flashbangs which give a similar effect, along with grenades, which happen to blow people up in this game. They're all very basic if you ask me. Sure, 1 or 2 of the gadgets are pretty cool, but there just should have been a great deal more. So that's it, I've covered about everything. There's just not many things going on in the game. So overall, do not buy this game, however this will be a strong round for stealth fans. And be sure to grab a friend for co-op. Story does a good job, but it's just somewhat lacking epicness if you like. And the graphics are just okay. Despite my overall score, this will be a better game than most. Just graphics and things like that bring this game down, because that's just how my scoring system works. So it's up to you. This has been Jazz for Jazz Reviews. I do hope you like the review and take some time just to check out another review. And like this video. Peace out.